A very good
ನಿಜ
afternoon.
ಮೇಡಮ್.
Present here for the sixth day work session of FDP Phase 1. Myself, Nida Fatima, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechatronics. Honored to welcome you all on behalf of SVCE for AICT sponsored 2-week online faculty development program on fostering ethics, moral values, and character building in technification from 23rd November to 5th December 2020, organized by Department of Mechatronics, Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering. For today's session, we have an eminent personality, Dr. Rajakumara H.N. Sir, Professor and Head Department of Civil Engineering, SVCE, as a resource person. Sir is going to enlighten us on the topic ethics in research. It's my privilege to welcome you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Dr. Rajakumara sir is currently working as a professor and head Department of Civil Engineering. He has obtained his PhD in Civil Engineering from VTU Karnataka in 2008, Masters in Environmental Engineering from University of Mysore, PESCE, Bachelor of Engineering in Civil Engineering from University of Mysore, PESCE. He has 22 years of experience in teaching and research. He is a life member of Indian Society for Technical Education, life member of Acoustical Society of India, fellow member of Institution of Engineers. He has developed patent on manufacture of bamboo bricks, application on building blocks. Sir has received numerous funds to list a few. AICT around 3 lakhs 9 and 10.5 lakhs from ISRO 23.22 lakhs. DST it is 13.54 lakhs and also from KSCST. He has received award 1999 for best paper on acid rain, Carrier Award for Young Teachers, CATI from AICT with a grant of rupees 10.50 lakhs. Sir has attended and organized seminars, conferences, workshops, guided 20 UG projects, 3 PG projects, and 6 PhD scholars. He has published and presented number of national and international journals and conferences. With this vast experience of user in teaching and research, we would be delighted to hear more on the topic ethics in research. I would like to hand over the session over to you, sir.
Thank you, Nidhi, for introducing with your brief introductions. And good afternoon to all of you. First, let me extend my heartfelt thanks to the Dr. Vijayashree Buddiyal, Professor and Head of Electrical and Mechatronics Department, for giving me an opportunity to deliver a talk on research in ethics. And also, first we should also wholeheartedly, I thank the AICT for sponsoring this kind of funding for organizing the most, the very relevant topic, which is need of the hour, that is ethics, moral values, and character building, which is needed in even in the all kinds of education, not only in technical educations. The education which is nowadays, the lagging one is the moral values, ethical principles, and the characters. As we know, education without character is no meaning. So that is why we need to inbuilt the character and moral values and the social responsibility in our education system. So today topic, they have given me a topic to talk on ethics. What are the basic principles we need to follow in research? that is the ethical principles of research. So here I am going to talk briefly on what is right and what is wrong that we are doing in day to day in our research activities. And first, before starting my presentation, first I should acknowledge our the authors of the PPT. So the most of the data we have taken from Joe's Copper, Albay Medical Center Ethical Decision Society, and also the Dr. Lisa. So it is UNAC Jarkol, that is the research ethics, June 15th, that is a published the paper. So most of the data which I am presenting here, I have taken from the references which I told, and also I given in the at the end. So that is the one which is everyone should follow in the especially giving credit to the all the researcher who have done already many things to the society. So whenever you do research, even you are being a teachers and being a scientist, so we are doing continuously the research in many fields, even in engineering and even in social and even in the science and in every field. Whenever we do kind of research, so we need to follow certain rules and regulations, and we should understand what is right, what is wrong. So, what is the actually the code of practice? The code of practice or code of rules that we need to follow while pursuing research. So, in this almost I need almost 1 hour just to just I will give a brief outlook of what are the ethical principles that we need to follow in our day-to-day research activities. When you look at the research in India, when you compare to the worldwide, so the number of people involved in the research or even in the higher education, it is a very minimum as compared to the other developed countries. So almost 10 to 50, maximum 20% of the people, they are going for research and higher studies, and even then among them, whatever that we are producing in terms of patents, in terms of the awards that is which we are getting from the scientific community, it is not up to the mark. So, and I request most of the people, the young budding engineers or the scientists, to take part, involve in more research, and bring out more the products or or even the patents, or some taking some social issues, or the issues of the common man in our research areas, and we can find out some the best possible solutions to our society. Now I will go to the first definition of the ethics. Already many people told what is ethics. Ethics, the definitions. So just as you know, it is a Greek word which is derived from Greek word ethos, ethos. That is it is a character, and it is a systematic study of value concepts. It may be good, bad, right, or it may be even wrong. That is what the meaning of the ethics. Ethics means it's a systematic. There should be a procedural. There should be a systematic way we need to conduct the study of value of concepts. And when you are doing, you may come out with the positive results, negative results, or the whatever may be the outcomes, but we have to document it properly and systematically, and we have to publish it through proper channel. And the definition of ethics, already I told you, and it is the ethics, the difference between ethics and morality. So this is the here, there is a, we need to balance. Ethics says what is right. Morality, the morality or the moral values says whether whether we need to follow moral or certain things, whether we need to follow what is right. So there is a contradictory between the ethics and the morality at certain research areas. So ethics, as I told you, it is concerned on moral standards that we follow. That is the code of practice or code of ethics, whatever it is there. Whereas the morality, it is the unwritten rules, whatever the which is not written, which is particularly to our consciousness, so that we follow the what we the rules or whatever the unwritten rules that guides us, guide the every researchers uh, what to do, what not to do to attain the peaceful harmony and orderly lives in the any research areas. So the morality is whether we follow morality, whether it's an unwritten one, whereas the ethics is the code of practice. There is a procedure. So whenever you are conducting, sometimes you will whether you will be in a dilemma whether you have to follow certain what is right. Ethics says what is right. Morality says so. The whether if because of we should see the harmony, the enjoyable harmony between the society and the environment sometimes. So to strike the balance between these two, so the investigator should act carefully. In doing research, so there are some certain questions we need to understand, or we need to first look into that. So whether how can we say that we have done the right things? Whenever you carry out any research, whether are we doing in the right way, or whether have done the right things? So that is the first questions. And as I already told you, we need to strike a balance between what is right and what is moral. So that is the one contradictory situation that will arise to a researcher or a scientist. And are we, next question is, are we have done widely accepted by whatever we or are the things, whatever we are doing, whether it is widely accepted by the community, the society, that acceptance rate is very, very important. So that is why we need to publish our research, and we need to accept the appreciations, and also we have to accept the critics. So that is why the once if it is not accepted by the community, or once it is not useful to the common man or the environment, so then your research is not up to the mark. And other important, so first the why the ethics is so important in research. Especially whenever we do take up any research, we any researcher in the beginning, we are committing lot of errors while finding the truth and knowledge. So to avoid this, the errors, so we should follow certain the ethics. So that will help us in guiding the us to find the what is the exact truth, and what is the knowledge that we are or the what is the conclusions that we are going to draw from the research. And another important aspect, so one is, as I told you, so this will minimize the error that we commit while doing the research. So so that you should not commit more mistakes or errors. So for that you need to follow a systematic procedure, systematic step-by-step procedure that is defined in the ethics of research. Another important thing is, so whenever we do research, so research means it is especially in the multidisciplinary area where many people will involve. Sometimes the engineers will involve, sometimes say the doctors will involve, sometimes a chemistry a background person, chemist will involve, or physics people, the physics, the background we sometimes will involve. So whenever we involve multidisciplinary people, so we need to, whenever you conduct in a team, especially to find the solutions to a problem. So first, the most important thing is the accountability of the data. So the whatever the outcomes that we are getting from the team, that should be more accountable, and there should be cooperations. Sometimes when you don't have cooperations between among the researchers, especially in the team, so then your researcher sometimes is conclusion, the conclusions whatever you are drawing from the conclusions about the research, it should be more transparent, more unique in nature. Otherwise, it leads to more complications, especially while drawing the conclusions. So that is why you should have good cooperations and coordinations and mutual respect and fairness while finding the outcomes, or while finding the truth and knowledge. And some research rules, what are the ethical rules that we need to follow each and every one. So that is what the pictorial representation is also shows. You should be very honest whenever you are doing research, or whenever you are drawing some conclusions. So you should be honest intellectually in all the times, especially in reporting, in recording the findings of our investigation. We should be intellectually honest. So you should not fabricate anything. We should not any falsifications or fabrications. We should not do. We should be very honest. So while doing our research, and be objective. Be objective means avoiding any kind of bias. Whenever you do some research, so it should be unbiased. So it should be, any kind of bias should not be there in research at all the times. So that is it should be objective, and be a person of integrity. So the person of integrity means, so whenever you are conducting research for months together or years together, your thoughts and actions should not change time to time. So there should be a consistency in your ideas, or in your thoughts, in your the methodology. So there should be integrity and in your thoughts and actions, that should not change on the results. So sometimes some people will lose patience, especially uh, 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 when it is extended for years together. Sometimes 5 years, 6 years, especially whenever you take up any kind of the very complex problems. So sometimes you will not come out with good results. So that times your thoughts and actions will keep on changing the methodology, or whatever the procedure you follow. So that should be integrated. That is be a person of integrity, and be caring. So next, the most important thing is, sometimes in our research area, so once you find out some, it may be any product, or it may be any medicine. For example, the vaccinations for COVID-19, the corona vaccines. So many people are involving in finding the vaccinations for the pandemic COVID-19. So that whenever you do conducting some experiments on animals, how it is effective on animals, how it is effective on human beings, there are many trials are there. So that whenever you are conducting those trials, so you should be very care. You should know the consequences of the dosage that you will give, or the consequences of the vaccinations on health of animals and health of human beings. So you must know the risk that involved. So that is why you should be very carefully, or you should be care about the animals that will involve in your experiments, or the human beings that they are voluntarily, that those people will involve for taking your vaccinations, because they are the people helping your research, and they are once they come voluntarily, especially animals will not speak anything. So whenever you are conducting some experiments on animals, you should be very cautious, you should be very careful. So that is why you should be caring. Another one is be open. So whenever you are finding some, conducting research, when you are doing research, so whatever the results are there, you should share your ideas, results, and all the resources. After finding something, you should not hide. You should share to the public, or you should publish in a paper, and you should accept the critics, or sometimes you should accept the comments or suggestions given by the many people. That is why we conduct open seminar and all in our PhD work. So whenever you publish something, so many people, sometimes same other researcher also working in the same domain or same area, they may also give their the comments or suggestions, or sometimes they will criticize your work in negative comments will come. So you should also be ready to be open to receive positive comments and negative comments. That is the one aspect. You should be open, and be careful, especially whenever you are taking some other's idea in your experiments. So sometimes the methodology, or it may be the concept, whatever you are using in your research area, or in your experiments. So whenever you taken from other areas or other people, the others' ideas should be acknowledged. So we should treat our colleagues fairly and justify. Means you should give the credit to them. So you should give the citations in your research publications, or the research findings. So whenever you are drawing some comments, so you can give the acknowledgement based on the research, or so and so the persons, according to them they were found. So that kind of acknowledgement, the credit or the citations, that should be given in your work. Otherwise, that is the idea of others must be acknowledged. That is the, you should be careful while you are using. Otherwise, the plagiarism will come into picture. And be trustworthy. Next one is the be trustworthy, especially the data information. So whatever you are the recording, or whatever the findings that is you are presenting to the public, so that need to be, it should be known to the public. So the data and information contained, you are, unless otherwise needed, to be known by the public. So it should be sometimes when you have to put it into the public domain, when we have to when we have need not, until you complete the data. So you should not reveal any kind of the informations to the third party or the media. So you should be very confidentially, you have to maintain all the data and informations of the, because you will be working in a company, or you will be working in some institutions, R&D institutions. So in such cases, you should confidentially, you have to maintain all the data and informations, and you should be very trustworthy to the company or to the institutions. So after that, once the outcome is come, you can publish in the paper, journals, or in a conference, all those things. That is after the, once it is completed. Till then, you should not leak out any kind of data or the information which is related to the research. That is the most important. Another is, the important thing is be responsible. So whenever you do conduct, especially social research, especially are finding some solutions to the local issues, or whenever you take up some case studies, so you should also understand the legality, rules and regulations of the area or the government. Suppose if you are finding some waste management in a particular area, so for example Bangalore, if we are finding some, taking some case study and finding, so you should respect the first law of the land, and we should what are the legal rules and regulations of the institutions or the government. So that should be maintained, or otherwise your research, if it is violating all the legalities and rules and regulations, then which you end up with so much of the problems. So that is why we should be responsible while conducting some any social problems. When you are addressing social issues, which you will help the government or the society. And when you are doing research, you should remember three principles, three R's. That is the principle: reduce, refine, and replace. So reduce means, especially whenever you do research, you will take many samples. The sampling techniques. There is a, say for example, say blood samples. So suppose if you may draw many blood sample for your experiments from animals or human beings. So whenever you are figuring out the number of samples, it should be try to be minimum, because the samples unnecessarily, you should not be wasted unnecessarily, because you are, that should affect on the animals which involve in the experiment, or the human beings that involve in your experiment, or the plant which is involved in your experiments. So that is why, so you should carefully decide the number of samples which is required for your research. It may be samples of animals, samples of human beings, or sample of plants. If it's a material, is okay, but the whenever you are doing any kind of involving any kind of living species in your research, so the samplings, number of samples, so you should be minimum. That is why reduce. And refine. So especially what is meant by the refine, why it is important, especially that is what in the carefully you have to, whenever you involve the, as I told you, the animals and human beings, so the pain which involve while drawing your sample or conducting any experiments, so whatever the problems that will come across while involving animals and the human beings, that should be minimum. The pain on the animals which they have involved, the suffering of the animals especially should be minimum. That is why you refine your procedure, you refine your methodology, so that will cause minimum pain or minimum disturbance to the animals and human beings. And replace. So replace means this, if there is any possibility that if you want to, you can replace animals by materials, so that you can replace. If instead of conducting using some animals, or other, if other than animals, if you use any other biological subjects or insects, or it may be any other worms, or it may be earthworms or any other things, instead of using the animals or human beings, you can replace with materials, or you can replace with any other biological objects. So that is what the three that is the replace. So reduce, you will reduce the number of samples, so that will you use in your research, it should be minimum, so that the effects on the animals and the effects on human beings and plants will be minimized. Refine means it is, so carefully you have to see your procedure, the method of the procedure, the step-by-step procedure that you will use in your research for so that the pain, that is the disturbance, that is, are the animals or whatever the human beings that they will involve in your research should not suffer more. So the suffering should be minimum. And replace means, as I told you, if instead of directly applying on animals and human beings, if it is possible to apply on any materials or any other biological species, so that you can look into that. And this is another important one. So the rights of human research participants. So whenever you involve, this is most important nowadays. Now we are the pandemic, the vaccine which we are finding now for COVID-19. In that context, so we need to understand this is more appropriate slide where we can understand what is the rights of human research participants. So right to voluntary participants. So whenever you are conducting some experiments on human beings, especially, you should take their consent. They should come voluntarily to take the new vaccinations, or the, because they know, they should know the risk involved, what kind of risk or what kind of health issues that they will get face. Sometimes it may lead to death also. So the voluntary participations, all human beings should come on their own. You should not force. So that is why even you can see the many vaccinations are coming on the corona. So the voluntaries, the people who are involved, they should be participate voluntarily on their own. And they should, another things, right to informed consent, they should take their consent. There is a procedure you need to follow. They should you should tell what is the risk involved, or what is the the health the problems that will come. So everything they should know, and it should be recorded. So the consent form from the a person who involved, it may be especially human beings, and their consent from their parents. So everything should be recorded. That is the right to informed consent. And another important things, right to be protected from harm. So whenever you, it is your duty, as means your duty means the researcher duty, to minimize the effect on the human beings. Whenever you involve human being in your research, the harmful effects that should be minimized. So it is your duty to design a methodology, you design a procedure, so that the effects on the human beings should be minimum. Then another thing is right to confidentially. So whatever so suppose if X persons involved, so you should not leak out their informations to the public, or you should be kept the informations of the voluntary people who are taking their risk and involving in the research. When they are cooperating, their personal information you should not reveal to the public. You should maintain all their informations, that the confidentiality should be maintained. And right to anonymity, that is what I told you, should not disclose their his or her identity to anyone, including their researcher themselves. Whenever you are, sometimes many scientists will involve in the research along with the voluntaries, even with animals or particular species. So you should not disclose until the experiment is completed. And after the research is over, so you have to draw some conclusions, or you have to take some based on the results of the output or results of your research. So you need to take certain decisions, whether it is right or wrong, or whether it is positive or negative. So how to draw the comments, how to take the decisions. So you should keep up there's some ethical decisions making principles. So here there are two principles are there. There are two types of decisions making. One is deductive or the principle based reasoning. Principle based reasoning means which is based on the some principles, concept, theory. For example, Einstein theory, for example, Newton's law. So something which is based on certain principles, certain theory. So you can draw the conclusion based on the principles or the law, whatever there. That is what called deductive or principle based reasoning. So inductive or case based reasoning. So this is what the case based reasoning. So that is what I told you. The principle based reasoning start with an ethical theory and continue with a specific principle and develop rules and make judgment. So whenever you are drawing some comments on uh, um, uh, some your research work, you can quote some principles or some law which is beyond that already, or some whatever the literature which you studied. So the, based on that you should have some reference. So while drawing the conclusions, that is what the deductive or principle based reasoning. And case based reasoning here, based on the experience, past experience, trial and error, especially in our village side. Sometimes the old age people, they will give sometimes uh, 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 solutions to the problems, because how they have, even though they are not scientists, even though they have not studied, they don't have education, proper educations, sometimes they will give solutions to the problems. It is all because of their experience, past experience. So that judgment, whatever they will give, even at the local level, so or whenever you are taking some judgments, you can quote some based on the past experience or the past the incident which are happened. Based on the case study, previous case study, you can take up, you can draw some conclusions. So that is what case based reasoning. It is only not based on any principle or theory. It is all based on the previous experience or the previous case studies. Some areas of research ethics also you should need to understand. There are 5 research ethics that we need to understand before conducting research. The first thing is misconduct, research misconduct, that includes falsifications, the fabrications, and plagiarisms. So especially the people who are involving the youngsters. So you should understand what is meant by research misconduct. Again, another one is their scientific misconduct, that I will tell in detail in the next slide. Then another second one is collaboration issues. So whenever this, especially authorship problem will come. So whenever you are doing any kind of collaborative research, so the authorship, who is become the first author, who is become the second author, third author, that is why the order of authors in the paper or in the article or in the report, that is also the most important. And data ownership and management. So this will come, especially who has to own the data, who is the accountable for the data. So that is the data ownership and management that will comes under collaboration issues. Another third one is the peer review. Another fourth one is the conflicts of interest or obligations. Another last one is complicity and funding details. The details of all these 5 I am going to tell now one by one. What is there? As I told you, research misconduct. As per the National NSF, National Science Foundations, what is meant by the research misconduct? It includes the fabrications of the data, or cooking up the data. That is also comes under the research misconduct. And another thing is falsifications and plagiarism. So misconduct means making up data, cooking up data or results and recording or reporting them. So this should not be done. Any fabrications should not be done in our research. Whatever the results that you are getting, honestly, you have to present it. You have to record it. So there should not be any fabrications or cooking up of the data should not be done. And falsifications. Falsification is manipulating the research results or the materials or the equipment which you are using in your. Sometimes you will use a very sometimes very low accuracy instrument, but in your paper you will mention high accurate, very the costly instrument, very accurate one. So whatever the equipment you are, because sometimes what the equipment may sometimes will the results depends on the equipment that you will use. So that is why what equipment you are using, you mention the model, you mention the company, from which company, everything. So that is what you have to clearly tell, whether it is a make Indian make or whether it is a imported one, and which company, what is the accuracy of the equipment that is which you are using in your research. So that should not hide, so that should not misinterpret in your research work. So that is the manipulations of the materials, equipment or process, or changing some the results, the are omitting some data, or whatever the, sometimes you will omit the data. You will not, you don't want to present the negative results. Only you will present the positive things. So that should not be, should not omit any data. That is the also comes under the falsifications. So you should accurately, you have to present. You should not do any the manipulations while presenting the data. If it is done, then it will become falsifications. And plagiarisms. Plagiarism means it is owning others' ideas, claiming others' ideas as my own, other research work, whatever the findings which is done by others as your own. That is the plagiarism. You should not claim other ideas. So whenever you use other ideas in your research, so you should give a proper acknowledgement in your or citations in your research work. So then the plagiarism will not come into pictures. So again, in the plagiarism, there are different types of plagiarisms are there that I am going to talk in the later stage. So plagiarism means owning others' ideas. So that is why plagiarism check, plagiarism is nowadays, especially in the intellectual property right, in the rights. So we give more importance to the plagiarism. Even all the theses, all the publications, before you submitting to any agency, first we need to go undergo plagiarism check. So that is the, now it is a mandatory for all the research works. And research work misconduct, as I told you, the misconduct is whatever the whenever you conduct any come across any error honestly, so that will not whatever error, whenever you are doing some kind of research, sometimes error will come honestly. It is not expected, it's unexpected. So that will not become misconduct, research misconduct. Then what is meant by scientific misconduct? The scientific misconducts here, so that is why the moral and social values are considered, especially whenever you are conducting some, drawing some conclusions on the based on your scientific principles and scientific the outcomes. So you should keep up all the, even the moral and social values which are considered or which should be given while drawing the conclusions. So misconduct means whenever you draw sometimes, especially social research or the environmental research, or whenever you are conducting some kind of the research that involves animals and human beings. So you should not give any kind of the falsifications of the or the any manipulation of the data. That should be scientific. The outcome should be very transparent and clear cut. So that is what the scientific misconduct. And another second thing is in the another component under research misconduct is the collaboration issues, as I told you, which includes the authorship. So the authorship, that is what I told you, 4 authors are there. So you should define, you should give who is the first author, why why he or she should be first author, why another one should be second author. So that is what, so the consciously you should give the proper authorship for your works. So if it is somebody, if you have copied from some, they have taken other ideas, or if you have referred some other papers, you give the acknowledgement in your papers in the reference column, or in your papers. The authorship also you can make them, in the authorship you can include their name also. So that is what the authorship. And intellectual property. So the intellectual property also will come into claiming other the property, their ideas, claiming as your own ideas. So that is also comes under the collaboration issue. It comes under research misconduct. So that is what. So whenever you are filing a patent on your, so these IPR, they will check all these things. Intellectual property right, they will, there is a procedure, systematic method of finding whether it is your real own idea or own product or concept. That is why IPR, intellectual property right, is most important in the collaboration issues. And rigor with which the experiment is conducted, what speed you are conducted, whether it is conducted in 1 day or 1 month or in a year, what is the speed at which you conducted. Now coronavirus, there is a certain time you need a one minimum, as I told, the WHO says to get a vaccine, at least minimum you need a 1 year to conduct all the trials. Some countries are releasing without any all the trials as per the guidelines issued by the WHO. So the rigor at which experiment is conducted, whether it is short term or whether it's a long term, whether all the code of codal procedure which is defined by the authority, whether you follow or not, that should be defined. So that is also become research misconduct. And good record keeping. All the records should be recorded. You have to keep a good record keeping. So that is the comes and also comes under maybe whoever may be the involved. Every record should be kept properly, and the accurate calculations. So your accuracy is, it should be more than 3 digits after the points. So it may be 0.000 something. You can, the accuracy of the results. So and the calculations, the method of calculations or the procedure which you use to calculate the results. So that should be most important in the in your research. And peer review. So whenever because many times we get a paper for review. Sometimes some journals you will be the reviewer. Sometimes you will get a paper in the area where you are working. So suppose, for example, I am working in some areas, X area, and I will get the paper in the same X area. So same area of research is same, domain is same. When you are reviewing that, how consciously you will do the research. Sometimes you may be committed error. The person who submitted the manuscript for the review, maybe they have done systematically, they recorded all the findings, and they have submitted the paper to the journal. But when you are reviewing, You should not, because of your mistakes, you may be done wrong, but they have maybe done right. How consciously you draw the conclusions. So that is what you do. That is what you see the question. What do you do if you learn something from reviewing a manuscript that could help your own research? Will you copy? Copyright issue will come. The plagiarism issue will come. Or if you maybe you have done mistakes, and that person who submitted manuscript may be correct. So that is what the contradictory will come. So how conscientiously you will review the paper. Sometimes the person who submitted your paper may be your friend, or he may be your relative. Sometimes how you are consciously you will, or honestly you will review the paper. Will you say, is my friend paper, he submitted, anyone, okay, chalta hai, okay, we pass it for publications. So that should not be done. So that sometimes this is the most of the times these peer review journals. So the namesake, it's a peer reviewed paper journals, but honestly, many people will not. They are not reviewing thoroughly. Only some journal, reputed journal, especially Springer and elsewhere, the reviewers are very strict. They will. Not see any the person's name also. They will not see. First they will see the manuscript without the authors. First they will go through that, and they will see the what they have done right, or whether it's a right or wrong. That only they will see. Sometimes some especially in the IITs, IASA and NITs, sometimes when the paper come for review or thesis come for review, the guide will give it to the students. Hey, you review the paper, this thesis, and give this one for MTech student or PhD student. The professor will give it to for reviewing the sometimes for the students also. That should not be done. On behalf of professors, the student graduate should not review the manuscript, should not review the thesis of the person who submitted. So that is why that should not be done. Most of the places it's happening in even in India, especially in the IITs and NITs. That should not be done. And conflict of interest. So this is another one where we can look into that. Fourth, conflict of interest, a situation in which sometimes, for example, so whenever you to publish, sometimes some company will there are, so for example, you take the best example is vaccination, corona vaccine. Many companies are coming out with vaccinations, different kinds of vaccinations for the corona. And they are submitting for the approval from the WHO, World Health Organizations. Some companies, they are going in an indirect way, so giving some, the paid, the money is paying money or something another with the influence. So something making expressing the authority to even the untrue as a true. So this is what most example is, being paid to say something untrue. And indirect example, for example, if you take you talk sometimes when you are working in a company, even though company is very bad, so sometimes you will be paid to say positive about the company or positive about the product. Sometimes heroine will come for ad. Sometimes they will not honestly go through the products, whether it is good for the society or good for the common man, how it is effective. That then they will not see. What they will see, what is the amount they will pay for this advertisement. That they will see. Then they will tell all good things about the company, all those things. That should not be done unless without knowing the product, what they are manufacturing, or how it is the positive and negative aspects. So that is what that is called the come from the conflict of interest. And ghost writing, especially in the newspaper or in the magazines, ghost management. So this is especially in the whenever you finding some things, so that should not be done in the interest of society or in the interest of public. Obligation. Next one is conflict of obligations. So what is meant by conflict? The conflicts of obligations. So sometimes we'll say, especially faculty. Sometimes you have the priority of research and the most priority of teaching also. First priority for teacher is teach. Sometimes you will express your inability. How many works I have to do? I have to do this work, that work. HOD will tell, or my boss will tell to do this work, that work. How can I do? You should not express your the inability, because it is your duty. Which one you have to do first, which one you have to do second, the priority you should decide. The conflict of obligation, that is what? For example, duty to research and duty to teach. And you should not mention to your own family, friends, and said you should not take this one. My boss is like this. He has given all these works. How can I do all these at a time simultaneously? So that you should not express, because all is your duty. The priority, which one you have to take up first, which one you have to take up second, and which one you have to take the last one, that is you have to prioritize and you have to do. So that you should not express to your own, even own family, to the our friends, or even you should not even for self also. And complicity and funding. Sometimes whenever you are doing some biological research or the social research or the anything kind of research which is related to the technology, especially DOD, Department of Defense related, when you are developing some kind of equipment or the technology or a missile or a warplane, or if you are a biological weapon, whenever you are finding the complicity and funding, these two very, very important. So whenever the problems involves, you need a more funding. And also time also is most important. Time, complexity, and funding. So this is what you need to look into that, especially in the research is concerned. And also you should keep up the moral issues behind the scientific misconduct. Sometimes you have to keep the moral values also. Sometimes you have to, what for I am developing this technology, how it is that will harm the society, how it will destroy the human beings. So whenever you are developing a technology, not only based on the fund, so you should also see that how it is the dangerous, the technology, that is also the complicity and funding and conflict of the technology that should be understand. And the area of scientific dishonesty. So this one, which includes as I told you, fabrication and falsification of data. Sometimes, as I told you, the many researcher will cooking the data and publishing, and even without conducting experiments, the data interpretations, whatever the previous data which is done by presented or published in other papers, taking their cooking up and manipulating them and presenting their data as their own, that is a plagiarism will come into pictures. That is why fabrications and falsification of data, so that is drawing some unscientific comments and results, publishing in a reputed journals with influence of through their reviewers. So that kind it is should not be done. And non-publication of data. So the data, whatever there, it should be published to the domain. If you are honestly you are there, you should not hide any data. You should publish to the public. Researcher should not include the data from the participant which do not conform to the hypothesis. So whatever these non-publication of data, you should decide whether you follow any kind of the hypothesis or this the procedure. If it is whether should I include this data or not. So that publication, non-publication of data, that you have to consciously you have to decide. And faculty data gathering and procedure, especially the youngster. Whenever you are doing some research, you will do first literature survey. Literature survey, whenever you doing, how you will gather the literature, how you will review, how you will systematically do the documentation. That is most important. The faculty data gathering and procedures. That is the one aspect you have to do systematically. That is, I think most of you are following these the literature review thorough in the any research. And plagiarism. This is referring, as I told you, using of others as your own. So you should not, whenever after literature review, you should not claim their others idea as your own. So you give proper acknowledgement, proper citations in your publications or in your reports. And as I already told you in the beginning, plagiarisms, it's an act of owning one's idea. That is it may, or maybe a work, or maybe publication as your own. So whenever you are using somebody's idea, you should give proper acknowledgement, and you should not claim as your own. That is the plagiarism. Plagiarism is an act of owning one's ideas. It may be work or publication as your own. So that is the one aspect. You see the pictorial representations. Other ideas just carrying as your own. That should not be done. And types of plagiarisms. So the types of plagiarism, as already you have known my last morning also, that you are one of the resource person discussed, Dr. Lata. So same our department colleague. So that is what clone. That is so it's an act of submitting the others' works or word for word, same copying from others word to word, same thing you are presenting, same word, same sentence, and putting. Some people will do Control C. Control plus C is means copy and paste. A written piece that contains significant portion of the text from a single source without alteration. Most of the students will do this one. Whenever they copy some literature review or do literature, same thing, same sentence, just they will do Control C, and they will put it in their project work. This is what which we are observing in our final year project works. That should not be done. And find and replace. This is we can see our most of teacher will also do this one. Replace the same word, because to avoid the plagiarism. So that sentence just converting active voice into passive voice. So indirect way writing the same sentence, essential will be same, the content will be same, but reversing the order, sentence active to passive, passive to active, active voice, writing in, expressing in different way. So that is what find and replace. That is going on most of the places. That should not be done. And remixing the paragraph, taking from different sources, papers, different 10 papers or 15 papers, and mixing each other, all the ideas, and not acknowledging. So whenever you take 10 papers, you should acknowledge those 10 papers in your reference column. excuse me. So remixing all the ideas, that is what, and climbing as your own ideas. So that is what remix, that is, and recycle. It is an act of borrowing generously from one's own previous work without citation. As I told you, whenever you do any papers, whenever you take it from any others' ideas, or it may be others' concepts. So consciously we should give the proper citation and acknowledgement. Then hybrid. Hybrid means this acting, the combining perfectly. This is what this with respect to without citations. So sometimes, so you will not do, even that paper also you will not include. Sometimes some authors will not include that paper because even though they have taken, they will include another paper which is similar to that, but they will not include real author. That is the one aspect. And mashup. So this is, as I told you, mix of copied materials from several different sources without proper citations. So the mashup means that is what most of the taking from many papers and not giving proper citations. And 404 error, this is another one, a written piece that includes citations of non-extant or inaccurate information about the sources. Sometimes 404 error, whenever you will do, means paper, if you get, whenever you do plagiarism, 404 comes means those all the paper which you referred in your publications, in your work, you have not cited properly, that will come 404 error whenever you doing the plagiarism check. Means you have taken the information, mixed everything, mixed up, remix you have done, but you have not given proper citations. Another one important is aggregator. So here aggregator means this paper includes proper citation but contains almost no original work. So others idea just in your project work also, sometimes in your publication also, you will just take the others idea and you will give the proper citation also. You will give, no, honestly you will give the citation, but there is no original work that which you have done. That is called the meaning of the aggregator. So it should be some originality in your paper, in your work, in your research work. And retweet. Retweet, that is the paper includes proper citation but relies too closely on the text original wording and same thing. That is what similar to. Almost it is whatever tweeting the whatever already it is there, just you are retweeting in your paper, reproducing in your paper without any, means originality is not there. So this is the references which I have taken, which the paper from this is the where I my all my PPTs which I referred from this one. So these are the two references which I referred. So you can go through there. Even they have lot of details in detail about the uh, um, material about the research in ethics. You can go to research ethics June 2015. So Department of Philosophy, UNC, Charlotte, responsible for conducting of research or research ethics. This and Jeff Copper, Alban Medical Center, ethical decisions making. So these two are the references which I used in my PPT. Most of the materials are taken from this one. Thank you. So this is just a brief outline about the just what are the ethics principles that we need to follow. Thank you.
Ethics is knowing the difference between what you have have the right to do and what is right thing to do. Ethics is knowing the difference between what you have the right to do and what is right thing to do. With this, I would like to conclude the session. I would like to thank Dr. Rajkumara sir for filling our minds with lots of innovative ideas regarding research and ethics. It was such an interesting session, sir. I would like to thank on behalf of management, Department of Mechatronics, and for the participants for patient listening. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. If any questions are there, you can put it to the coordinator, or I will share my email ID also. You can
For now, no.
send any.
Sir, now there are no questions, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll share your number, sir, if they want any queries.
Sure,
If they
sure,
have
sure.
any queries. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.